This is the final project. I have what it takes for ED 348, and I just want to be discussing my final project with the paper that I wrote about the different standards that I could use within my teaching and some artifacts and some assessment things that I have learned throughout my time taking this first class in the Averno teaching program. I have what it takes. The standards is what I put down was learning environments, contact knowledge, and assessments. The reasons why I picked those ones was because I feel like those would have been the best thing that with me that could be within my standards. I know it says in our paper, I believe all students can learn at high levels, and I believe that teachers have different techniques for doing that too. So I added like what I learned when learning environment, how to get the students to learn at different areas in the classroom, and maybe switch out like desks or put students in different areas so they can be successful. The contact knowledge one is pretty much how can I get the contact information out to the students, and how can I get through to them if it's something that I have to like look into. Like of course every teacher goes through struggles where they're trying to figure out what can they help the students do to understand what the such situation is, like a math problem or a reading problem, or what kind of reading level they are supposed to be on. And that's why I kind of picked that one, because contact knowledge is looking at background information before you teach the lesson. You would want to have some type of lesson, the background lesson planning, to make sure you understand what you're teaching and how you're going to get through to them. Like, of course, your plans are going to change, and of course, you just have to adjust to it. And stated in my paper, I am taking this course to become a teacher, but also I'm a basketball coach, so I'm trying to like influence my basketball coaching to the classroom too. That's my team, and those are my players. I'm trying to, push them in the right direction. And the last one I picked was assessment. Assessment is big to me now because now I learned a little bit more than I had before, because I thought assessment was honestly just multiple choice and tests and all this. But once taking the course ED 348, it has taught me a little bit more than I thought, I needed. And the one assessment I did was for my mini lesson. The mini lesson I did was I read a book to the kids, and then I pretty much did some assessment to do it. So for example, that I have here is we read a book beforehand called The School Story, and then the book I read to them was called The Valentine's Bears. And we pretty much just, here's an example, is just pretty much doing the plots and the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the conclusion. So just making sure they are understanding the story from the beginning to the end. And before we did that, I went through all the definitions of what is supposed to be, like what is a plot, what is what's a fallen action in the story, what is the resolution. We learned as the closing statement. The climax, that's in the top of the mountain, like I showed you before. That's the top. It's telling you what's happening and what's the most exciting emotional parts. We're talking about the rising action in the group and the exposition. I know they're out of order here right now, but I understand what to tell the students, how to do it. We explain what is an exposition, a rising action, a climax, a fallen action, a conclusion, so they can make more sense about the whole thing. And I felt like that helped a lot, and to get them to understand, what they need to be done. In class, I brought this one book in called 1 Volt, 2 Volt, 1 Volt, U Volt. It was something about what book can you bring in to read to a class, and what assessment you use. The assessment I would have used for that one with this book is about the presidents and voting in government. So I pretty much would bring it in and, have them do an information about a president, and then they could have done like dressed up. That's what I'm looking for. Dressed up as the president, and then to know a little bit more about it and assessing, they can understand like what this president did or what they did back in the day of like presidency, and to understand what the government is all about. My thinking behind my growth, understanding of what becomes a teacher, I know it's a struggle, and I know sometimes it's not going to go like our way. And learning into my field practice and talking to my mentor teacher, like I can figure things out along the way. Again, this is like my first year as a teacher, right? And I think in time goes on, when taking these classes, working with the kids more, working to the things within the classroom and how things work and how to address some things, I think it'll be a good experience, and hopefully friends and family will be supporting me the rest of the way to be a successful teacher. And I know it's going to take time, and I know that I have a long way to go, but I feel like I am in a good step in direction.